My name is Pam Lowe and I'm an academic and I work at Aston University in Birmingham, and together with my colleague Sarah, give us a wave Sarah. One of the things that we do is that we research anti-abortion activism in the UK. But I want to start by talking about anti-abortion activism in the US and how we got here. So even before Roe v. Wade decision, but certainly afterwards, the anti-abortionists started organising in particular ways. First, that they tried to change the constitution to prevent abortion, and that failed. So then what they did was they set up a new strategy, and there was a twin-track approach. Gradually, they took control of the Republican Party. It was slow, but it happened, and it became to the point where you couldn't really stand as a Republican candidate unless you agreed with an anti-abortion position. But at the same time, they also had a legal strategy, and anti-abortion organisations set up their own law schools to award law degrees in the 1980s in order to train lawyers and potential judges and potentially Supreme Court judges to bring cases that they thought would further their cause, not just on abortion, but on what they call traditional family values. So that's anti-LGBT rights, anti-gay marriage, anti-sex education in schools. But abortion was the cause that sort of spearheaded this initiative. And they got there. So I don't suppose any of you will be surprised to know that the latest Supreme Court judge, Amy Coney Barrett, is associated with that move. And that's how we got here. It was a long strategy. Now that particular route to overturning the rights by capturing a political party, capturing an education system and capturing a legal system wouldn't work exactly the same here, but that doesn't mean they haven't been trying. So one of the things that happens is that there is model legislation, and they try it in one state. If it fails, they move on to another, and if it fails, they move on to another. And some of those bills come over here, but have failed in Parliament. And some of the moves that the anti-abortion politicians in our Parliament make are then tried out in the States. It is a global movement, and it's not all one way. I think that's really important to note, that it's not all one way. And in fact, a report that came out last year showed that in Europe, there was actually more European money in anti-abortion funding than there was American money. And there was also a lot of Russian money. Well, hopefully, the Russian money will have dried up. But, so regardless of what happens in the US, our rights to abortion here have never been secure. I mean, I'm quite old now, and I have spent my entire adult life defending and trying to extend the 1967 Abortion Act. And this fight is never going away. And we have to defend it from multiple attacks in multiple ways. And everyone here can play their part, but they can only, and there's multiple ways that you're going to do it. So I'm going to talk about 4 ways that I'm going to ask you all today to help win this battle, okay? And the first one, and I'm sure you're all with me on this, is to be vocal, right? To be vocal. We support abortion. Woo! Right? It's really easy to do it here today, but do it all the time. Do it on social media. Have those conversations with your colleagues. As has been said, we're a pro-choice country, but abortion is still heavily stigmatised. It's down in the ashes. It's something we're not supposed to talk about. People think that they support abortion, but their friends and colleagues and families don't. But you know what? Almost everybody in this country supports abortion. And we just need to be out and proud about this all the time. And there is no but, right, in that? There is no but. If you hear someone say, I am pro-choice, but they are not pro-choice, okay? And don't get into a massive battle with them, but just try and show why the but means it needs to go, right? And that is the most important thing you can do, because if we destigmatise abortion, if everybody knows that abortion is healthcare and this is what we have a right and it's our choice, whoever that may be, for whatever reason, then that is one of the most important things you can do, and a counteract to the constant anti-abortion messages and the constant anti-abortion, which seeps into the discourse. The words seep into how we talk about abortion, and that has got to stop today. So that's the rule number one: be vocal. Are you all with me with that? Yeah. Right. And the second one, again, really easy. Support pro-choice organisations. All of them, all the time, right? Amplify that message, right? So you've got Pro-Choice Nottingham. You've got Abortion Support Network, who funds abortions for people who need to travel here. You've got the abortion providers, MSI and BPAS. You've got abortion rights. Follow them, amplify them. If you can afford it, donate to them. But if you can't afford it, that's okay. Just amplify the message all the time. Show your support, show why this is important, and show that there is no compromising. All right? So that's the second message, right? Support all the time, everyone. Is that okay? Right, the third message is hard, right? This is much harder to do, and trust me, it is hard for me as well, but it's really important. So as I mentioned before, the anti-abortion people captured the Republican Party, right? It made abortion into a partisan issue. And this means that when it rolls back to the states that change between being a blue state and a red state, they could see abortion laws rolling backwards and forwards every couple of years. That's not good for anyone, right? Now, in Parliament, abortion is a conscience issue. That means there is not a party whip, there's not a party dictate. So this is a hard one. We need to be non-partisan about abortion. This is not a party political issue, it's a human rights issue. And whoever your MP is, whether it's Labour, whether it's Conservative, whether it's Liberal Democrats, or even there are any Scottish Nationalist Party people in here today, but support them, even if you don't agree with them on anything else, support them in this. Because the anti-abortion people always show up, they always lobby their MP, they always fill out letters. We nearly lost telemedicine because 8,000 people from anti-abortion organisations wrote in, and a couple of hundred of people from pro-choice ones did. And it came that close to losing telemedicine. And we cannot afford that. So be vocal and be non-partisan. Even if you absolutely hate what your MP is doing on every other issue, if they are pro-choice, support them with that. And what's more, show up. It's really easy to fill in a letter on sort of like one of those letters that goes around, write to your MP, you put in your postcode, press a button and off it goes. And that is important. But it's much harder for an MP to defend what they're doing if you go and see them in person. And go and see them, explain to them. If they try and brush you off, remind them this is a conscience issue and you have a right to know what they think personally on this. And let them try and defend your position. Now, some of them might be antis, but you can still persuade them. So one of my colleagues, she has an anti-abortion MP, and before the telemed vote, there was a backwards and forwards between her and her MP's office on email, and he abstained, right? Now that's a victory, right? That is a victory. So it's hard, but be non-partisan on this. And the fourth one, and again, this is really important and really sad, but we are in this for the long haul. They will never stop, so we can't ever stop, right? This is a battle that everyone will have to do for their entire lives. But the more we are vocal, the more that we show up, the more that we ensure that our politicians know where the country stands, the less fight it will be. And I'll leave it at that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Pam. That was brilliant. That's one of the things that Pam says we can do to support. I mean, you're all here, so that's showing up, which is brilliant. Carry on doing that. And when we